AA games these days are starting to rival titles from the biggest studios, and I think they're the sweet spot for gaming. Usually look great, sometimes even on par with AAA games without all the bloat. They're focused, respect your time, and can save you some money too. So today I want to talk about some of the best AA games out there that are absolutely worth every penny, and some of them actually do certain things better than their AAA counterparts. Let's talk about it. Lies of P is completely turning the story of Pinocchio on its head. This game is dark and scary and really difficult to play. You play as Pinocchio himself. Your goal is to find your creator, Geppetto, and try to stop this whole mess. You have to be super careful because every corner is hiding a scary robot or a giant puppet monster just waiting to smash you into pieces. The atmosphere is thick and heavy, which makes it feel really tense every time you step into a new area. You have to learn how to block and dodge attacks perfectly or you will die very quickly. You use all sorts of crazy weapons that are made up of two parts, a handle and a blade. You can mix and match these parts to make your own custom weapon. For example, you can put a big heavy axe head on a quick sword handle and see how that works. This lets you play around with different fighting styles. Pinocchio's left arm is also special because it can be switched out for different tools like a flamethrower or a giant harpoon that pulls enemies closer to you. It is called the Legion arm, and it is very useful for getting out of tight spots. The whole concept of lying is a big deal in the game too. As Pinocchio, you get choices to either tell the truth or to lie to the people you meet. These choices actually change the story, and they affect what kind of puppet Pinocchio becomes. The more you lie, the more human he becomes. Bramble the Mountain King. It looks cute for the first 10 minutes and then slowly shows you it is absolutely not playing around. And it pulls heavily from dark Nordic folklore, the old stories where bad things happen, kids disappear, and monsters don't feel sorry for you. You play as a young boy named Ale, searching for his sister after she gets taken into a strange forest world. Ale is small, weak, and completely out of place. You're just trying to survive. Enemies are often huge compared to you. Bosses feel like forces of nature instead of enemies you can outplay. When you die, it usually feels like you messed up by being careless. Trolls, witches, spirits, and creatures that feel wrong. Road 96. Set in a fictional country teetering on the edge of collapse, you play as multiple teenagers trying to escape to the border and find freedom. Along the way, you'll meet a cast of strange, memorable characters some kind, some dangerous and all with their own stories that weave into the bigger narrative about the country's political turmoil. Each run feels like an adventure, with choices that affect not only your current escape, but also the fates of the people you meet along the way. Will you steal to survive, hitchhike with a mysterious truck driver, get involved in shady dealings, or try to stay off the radar?
He's a kid! Try something, Mr. President. If they do, I'll crush them once and...
Another crab's treasure. You play as a little hermit crab named Krill. Now, hermit crabs usually live in shells, right? Well, Krill's got his nice shell. But then this shady loan shark comes along and get this, repossesses it. Yeah, he just takes Krill's home right off his back. So Krill's big goal becomes finding a way to buy back his treasured shell. This sends him on a huge journey across a really interesting underwater world. What's cool is that this ocean world is kind of messed up by pollution. So instead of finding fancy treasures, a lot of the useful stuff Krill finds to wear as a shell is actually discarded human trash. You've got this little fork you use to attack, and it's all about timing your dodges and parries, just like in those tougher action games. Since you're a hermit crab, you're constantly finding and swapping out different pieces of trash to use as your shell. Every single piece of trash could be a soda can, a thimble, even a broken thimble gives you a different special ability. They call these shell spells. So one shell might let you shoot bubbles, another might give you a big protective shield, or turn you into a spinning top. First, Berserker Khazan. The story's all about this legendary general named Khazan. Long story short, he gets totally screwed over, falsely accused of being a traitor to his whole empire, so they exile him to this super cold, empty place and he almost dies, but he survives barely, and from there the whole game is just about Khazan's crazy, revenge-fueled journey. Khazan can use different types of weapons too. You can swing a giant sword, poke with a spear, or go fast with 2 smaller blades. Each weapon feels different to use and they've got their own special moves, and oh man, the bosses, they are no joke. They're usually huge, hit super hard, and you have to really study how they move if you want to beat them. When you finally take one down, it feels like a real accomplishment, you know? Ghost Runner 2. You're a cybernetic sword dude, wall running through neon-drenched skyscrapers, slicing up enemies in one-hit kill combat while doing parkour gymnastics that make Spider-Man dizzy. Now Ghost Runner 2, it takes all that and just cranks it. Adds a little more spice, new abilities, new enemies, better level design, and oh yeah, they gave you a motorcycle. Yep, the second I saw that trailer, I was like, wait, I get to bike through a collapsing cyber factory while dodging lasers? And yes, you do, and somehow it doesn't feel gimmicky. Like, the bike sections are actually well designed and smooth as hell. It's like Tron meets Doom Eternal, but you've got a katana. The Council.
Please excuse me, madam. I'm sure we've met before, but I don't remember.
You play as Louis de Richet, a guy hunting for his missing mother on a private island. This island is packed with historical big shots like George Washington and Napoleon Bonaparte, all wrapped up in a deep, strange conspiracy. What's cool about the Council is how conversations feel like puzzles. You'll need to use skills like psychology, manipulation, or diplomacy to get people to open up or say what you need them to. And here's the twist: even if you mess up, the game keeps going, but things will take a different turn. Every choice matters, and it changes how people treat you and where the story heads.
Please, be my guest, mother.
When you're not chatting, you're exploring the mansion, digging through old letters, finding secret passages, and solving puzzles. There's always something new to uncover, and it's up to you how much you poke around. The story is packed with intrigue, and you never really know who to trust. Everyone seems to have their own agenda.
You know, Louis, I've only just now realized that I've been...
Talos Principle 2.
Could never have imagined.
If you love a good brain teaser, this game is like a supersized box of your favorite mental gymnastics. You're walking around these gorgeous, serene environments, and each area has a bunch of self-contained puzzle chambers. You start with basic stuff like using laser beams and jammers to open doors or activate things, but oh man, it just keeps adding new tools and mechanics. Suddenly you're messing with gravity, creating clone-like copies of yourself to hold down switches, teleporting across gaps, or even switching bodies with other robots. They start simple enough to teach you the ropes, but then they twist those rules in ways you never saw coming. You'll stare at a puzzle, scratch your head, walk away, maybe grab a snack, and then BAM! The solution just hits you like a bolt of lightning. Those aha moments when everything clicks are just pure dopamine for your brain. It's the kind of game that makes you feel incredibly smart when you solve something tricky, even if you spent 20 minutes feeling like the world's biggest dummy right before that. Banishers Ghosts of New Eden. You play as 2 characters, Red Mac Wraith and Antia Duarte, and their job is to be Banishers. Think of them as special people who hunt down ghosts and try to help spirits move on, protecting the living from them.
And the captain will taste his own medicine.
When you're playing the game, you'll actually control both Red and Antia. You can switch between them pretty easily, and they both have different ways to fight and interact with the world. Red is the living one, so he uses physical weapons like swords and a rifle to deal with human enemies and some of the more solid-looking ghosts. Antia, since she's a ghost, has special spirit powers. She can do things like unleash powerful energy blasts or sort of dash through enemies. Some enemies are easier to hurt with Red's physical attacks, while others are more vulnerable to Antia's ghostly powers, so you're constantly switching between between them to take down different bad guys. You'll go around to different areas, talk to people who are being haunted, and look for clues to figure out why a certain ghost is sticking around. You uncover these little stories, and they often involve sad or messy stuff from the past. Once you've figured out what happened, you have to make a tough choice for each haunting. Do you help the ghost move on peacefully? Do you force them to leave, which is called banishing them? Or do you decide that a living person was actually responsible for the problem and, well, sacrifice that living person to help Antia get closer to coming back to life?
Heart forever.
Vampyr. You play as Dr. Jonathan Reed, a brilliant physician who's been turned into a vampire, forcing him into a brutal conflict between saving lives and satisfying his bloodlust. The game's main hook: will you feed on the innocent to grow stronger, or stick to your medical oath and stay weak even as danger closes in? The game nails the eerie vibe with its gloomy streets, mysterious characters, and gothic soundtrack. Every NPC you meet has a story, and choosing to kill or spare them has lasting effects on the neighborhoods. Feed on too many people, and the area plunges into chaos, but resisting the hunger makes battles harder, forcing you to walk a fine line between morality and survival. Combat combines melee weapons, firearms, and vampiric abilities like teleporting mid-fight or draining enemies' blood from a distance. It's intense, but not forgiving if you avoid feeding. Enemies get tougher, making each fight a challenge. Murdered Soul Suspect. You play as Ronan O'Connor, a detective who's murdered in the line of duty but returns as a ghost. Trapped between worlds, Ronan must solve his own murder while uncovering the truth behind a series of other mysterious deaths in the town of Salem. The catch? As a ghost, you can't interact with the world directly, so you'll need to possess people, read minds, and manipulate objects to gather clues. Solving cases in Murdered Soul Suspect involves piecing together clues, finding hidden objects, and making deductions. There's no combat in the traditional sense, but you'll need to avoid or outwit demonic spirits that hunt you. Evil West is unique and, well, it mixes up cowboys with vampires in a really fun way. You play as a guy named Jesse Rentier, and he is a vampire hunter who works for a secret group that protects the Wild West from monsters. The story is pretty simple, but it is very exciting because you just go from one place to another fighting bad guys and saving the world. You have a big metal glove called a gauntlet that shoots electricity. You can punch vampires right in the face and watch them fly across the room. You also have a bunch of guns, like a revolver and a rifle and a shotgun. You can mix up shooting and punching to make cool combos. There is even a flamethrower you can use to burn the monsters. One really fun thing you can do is pull enemies towards you with your electric glove and then uppercut them into the air. Then you can shoot them while they are floating. It makes you feel like a superhero. The game is not an open world where you have to walk around for hours looking for stuff. It is a straight line where you just move forward and fight, and the monsters are very scary and gross. Some of them are huge bats, and some are ugly vampire monsters that scream at you. The game has a lot of gore, so it is very messy when you win a fight. You can upgrade your weapons and your glove to get stronger as you play. For example, you can make your punches electric so they shock everyone nearby. It feels like an old school video game from back in the day where fun was the most important thing. The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. The Vanishing of Ethan Carter is a haunting first-person mystery game that pulls you into the role of Paul Prospero, a paranormal detective drawn to the remote town of Red Creek Valley by a letter from a boy named Ethan Carter. From the moment you arrive, you realize something terrible has happened. This game is all about exploration and discovery. There are no combat mechanics, just you, the environment, and a series of strange puzzles that require both observation and a bit of detective work. You'll reconstruct past events, follow supernatural clues, and slowly unravel a story that's as emotional as it is mysterious. Remnant 2 is basically what happens when you take a Soul-style game and strip out the artsy nonsense, then mix it with guns, co-op chaos, and real build freedom. You wake up, things are already bad, and you are thrown into hostile worlds where nothing wants you alive. The biggest thing that makes Remnant 2 stand out is how different every playthrough can be. Maps are semi-random, bosses change, side stories shift, and even major events can play out in totally different ways. Two people can play the same world and see different bosses, different endings, and different rewards. rewards. That alone makes it feel less like a one-and-done game and more like something you keep coming back to. The class system, called archetypes, is deep without being annoying. You pick a main role like handler, medic, challenger, or gunslinger, and later you can mix two together to create your own playstyle. You can build a tank that never goes down, a support that keeps the team alive, or a damage monster that melts bosses fast. The worlds themselves are weird in a good way. One area feels like a dying fantasy kingdom, another like a sci-fi nightmare, another like a swamp filled with decay and madness. The lore is there if you care, but the game never forces it on you. Wakes the deep. If you have an appreciation for games that build tension through atmosphere and environment rather than constant shooting, this is a game from the Chinese room. And if you know their work, you know they are the masters of narrative-focused games that lean heavily into atmosphere, like Dear Esther and Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. The game is set in 1975, and you play as a guy named Kaz McLeary, who is working as an electrician on a giant, remote, and increasingly unstable oil rig called the Beira D. You are miles out in the North Sea, surrounded by freezing black water, completely cut off from the mainland. Then, things go catastrophically wrong. The rig is hit by some kind of impossible, non-Euclidean horror, a creature or an influence that comes from the deep ocean and starts twisting the steel structure and the sanity of the crew. You're crawling through maintenance ducts, shimmying along narrow catwalks suspended over the crashing waves, and swimming through flooded sections where the oxygen is running out. The environment itself is your enemy just as much as whatever monstrous thing is stalking the halls. RoboCop Rogue City. This game is pure fan service done right, and it's the best adaptation of the original movie vibe that anyone could have asked for. It comes from Teon, the same developers who did the Terminator Resistance game, and they had this amazing knack for taking classic 80s action movies and translating their specific, gritty, ultra-violent atmosphere perfectly into a modern first-person shooter. The story is set between the second and third RoboCop movies, so it feels like a genuine lost chapter of the original trilogy. You are, obviously, Alex Murphy, the legendary cyborg lawman, and the game throws you right back into the crime-ridden streets of old Detroit. This is not a fast, twitchy shooter. You are playing as a 600-pound walking tank, and the game makes you feel that weight and power. RoboCop moves slowly, deliberately, and with an unstoppable momentum. When you draw your iconic Auto 9 pistol, it feels incredibly powerful and precise. You don't take cover, you are the cover. You can walk through walls, kick thugs across the room, and even use your environment, like grabbing a filing cabinet or an explosive barrel and throwing it right through a gang of enemies. Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon. At its core, The Fall of Avalon is an open-world action RPG that blends a dark take on Arthurian legend with survival-style mechanics, branching narrative choices, real combat, and loads of systems you don't usually see together. You start the game in a pretty rough spot, imprisoned in a land that's literally falling apart, and from there, your journey can go in a dozen different directions. You're running around a huge open world split into big zones like the Misty Horns in the south, the sunny Kunokt village, and the frozen Forlorn Swords. Each area has quests, NPCs with their own stories, villages to save or ignore, dungeons buried with secrets, and tons of loot. There's crafting, fishing, cooking, mining, blacksmithing, and even a kind of journaling system that encourages you to soak in every detail you find. The Altars is one of those survival games that feels weird, but in a good way. You play as Jan Dulski, a miner and engineer whose expedition crashes on a harsh alien world where the sun's radiation will kill you if you don't keep moving and protect it. But the twist is that you can create versions of yourself called altars using this strange element called rapidium. Some may be great engineers, others great at mining or building, and others good at research. You're constantly juggling resources and deciding who to create, who to send where, and who's emotionally stable enough to handle another day in the wheel of this rolling base. Dispatch is one of those games that feels like a weird, funny TV show you play instead of just watch. In Dispatch, you play Robert Robertson III, also known as the washed-up hero Mecha Man. His giant mech suit got wrecked, his reputation is in rough shape, and now he has to work at the Superhero Dispatch Network, SDN, which is basically a superhero office where you send other powered people out on missions instead of being the one in the field yourself. You spend most of your time looking at the SDN map, deciding which heroes to send to what crisis, trying to match their strengths, weaknesses, personalities, and cooldowns to the job at hand. It's like a light strategy game smashed into a narrative adventure. There are also hacking minigames and occasional quick-time events to break up the conversation sequences and dispatch decisions.
You're right at home behind that desk because you're no hero. You're a nerd playing a video game in a suit your daddy built.
Sifu came out at a time when a lot of action games were getting easier, safer, and more forgiving, and this game did the exact opposite. Getting good is the whole point. You are a martial artist going after 5 targets who destroyed your school and killed your family. Each level represents a step in that revenge path, and each boss represents a different fighting philosophy. The aging system is the core idea that makes Sifu stand out. Every death pushes your character forward in age. You get stronger, but more fragile, which is a smart trade-off. It means brute forcing fights will only take you so far. Kina, Bridge of Spirits. You play as a girl named Kina, and she is a spirit guide, which means she helps ghosts who are stuck in the world move on to the afterlife. The whole game takes place in this big abandoned village that is surrounded by a forest. Something bad happened there a long time ago, and now the whole place is covered in this gross red and black corruption. Kina has to go to different parts of the forest to find spirits who are lost. These spirits are usually people who have a lot of guilt or anger, and they turned into big scary monsters because they could not let go of their past. You have to learn about their lives and what happened to them so you can help them find peace. Absolute best part of this game is these little black fuzzy creatures called the Rot. You start with just a few of them, but as you play, you find more and more hiding under rocks and inside chests until you have a whole army of them following you around. You can even find little hats for them to wear, like mushroom caps or fox masks, or even little pancakes. It is adorable, but the Rot are not just for looking cute because they actually help you do everything. When you're walking around, they can pick up heavy statues for you or move blocks so you can climb up cliffs. They're like your little helpers, and they chirp and make funny noises the whole time. Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. The whole setup for the game drops you right into the Warhammer 40,000 universe. If you're not familiar with that world, picture a super dark future where humanity is pretty much always at war, fighting off all kinds of wild alien monsters and other weird stuff that wants to wipe them out. In this game, you step into the boots of Captain Titus, who's one of these special soldiers called a Space Marine. Think of these guys as basically super tough, genetically changed warriors wearing giant, heavy armor. Their big job is to be humanity's shield, defending against all the scary threats out there in the galaxy. In this particular adventure, your main enemies are the Tyranids, which are these terrifying insect-like aliens that show up in just massive, overwhelming numbers. You'll spend your time switching between shooting and getting up close for melee combat. For shooting, you'll use different kinds of guns, like the iconic Bolter, which is a big, powerful rifle. The game is known for throwing a ridiculous number of enemies at you all at once, so you're often just blasting away into this huge, swarming crowd of aliens. And when those enemies get too close for comfort, that's when you pull out your melee weapons. You might use something like a chainsword. Yeah, it's a sword with a chainsaw on it, pretty wild, right? Or a big power hammer to smack them around. These attacks are pretty strong, and you can really chop or smash enemies into pieces. Plus, since you're a super soldier Space Marine, you also have some special powers or abilities you can use in a fight, like maybe a powerful ground pound that knocks enemies back, or a temporary shield to keep you safe when things get too wild. A Plague Tale Requiem is not trying to be fun in the normal way. It is a heavy story game that follows 2 siblings, Amicia and Hugo, in a medieval world that feels sick and cruel. Hugo is not just a kid with problems, he is the reason entire cities collapse. The Rat, they're a curse that follows him everywhere. Wherever these two go, things slowly fall apart. The gameplay is built around being weak and outnumbered. You do not run in and fight groups head on. You hide, you plan, and you use tools to control space. Light Light matters because rats fear it. Fire matters because it is the only thing that keeps death away. Your sling is not a power fantasy weapon, it is a desperate tool. You craft ammo, break armor, blind enemies, and sometimes you just run because that is all you can do. One of the most impressive things is how the rats work. They move like a living ocean, reacting to sound, light, and fire in real time. Entire areas become puzzles built around managing darkness and safety. Clair Obscur Expedition 33. The world is facing a slow, agonizing end thanks to a powerful villain called the Paintress. Her power is horrifyingly simple. Every year, on her birthday, she appears and magically subtracts 1 year of age from every single person on the planet. Your group, the titular Expedition 33, are the final, desperate attempt to find and stop her before the entire human race hits age 0 and simply fades away. It takes the classic turn-based system and amps up the adrenaline. It's an active turn-based system that absolutely demands your attention and skill. Whenever an enemy attacks one of your 4 party members, a small QuickTime prompt appears on the screen, and you have to hit the correct button or direction at the exact moment of impact to successfully parry, block, or dodge the blow. Nailing the timing is critical because a perfect parry can drastically reduce damage and give you an immediate counterattack chance. The same timing-based inputs apply to your offensive moves. To maximize the damage or trigger the powerful secondary effects of your abilities, you often have to hit a sequence of buttons or hold a press in a specific rhythm. Pentiment is a very different kind of game, and it comes from Obsidian, a studio that has been around forever and is known for deep writing and choice-driven games. You play as Andreas Mahler, an artist working on manuscripts. Not a warrior, not a hero, just a smart guy who knows how to read, write, and observe people. The whole game looks like a living medieval manuscript. Text appears as if it is being handwritten in real time, characters look like drawings from old books, and the world feels like history come to life. The game is built around mystery and choice. Murders happen, secrets come out, and you are constantly asked to decide who to trust and what version of the truth you believe. The key thing is that you are never given perfect answers. Evidence can be incomplete, witnesses can lie or be wrong, time moves forward no matter what you do, and some choices lock you out of others. Who Andreas is depends on how you shape him. His background, education, and interests affect how he talks to people and what options you get. Being kind or aggressive, curious or dismissive, all of it changes how characters react to you over the years. And yes, years matter here. The game spans decades, and you see characters age, change, regret things, and carry old wounds. Peasants, monks, nobles, and outsiders all live in the same town, but they live very different lives. The game never lectures you, it just shows how unfair things are and lets you sit with it. Some choices feel wrong no matter what you do, and the game does not try to comfort you. Pentiment came out in an era where most games chase action and speed, so this feels almost rebellious. It trusts the player to slow down, read, and think. Deliver us the moon. Set in a future where Earth's resources are depleted and the moon was once humanity's lifeline for energy, you play as an astronaut sent to find out why all communication with the lunar colony mysteriously stopped. Your mission? Restore the power and hopefully save humanity. The game's atmosphere is top-notch. From the moment you launch into space, the weight of isolation is palpable. As you explore abandoned lunar bases and traverse the moon's desolate surface, you'll find logs, recordings, and environmental clues that slowly piece together what happened. Goodnight Universe is part of this newer wave of indie games that aren't trying to win you over with combat systems or big mechanics, but with perspective. You play as Isaac, a baby. Not a funny baby, not a cartoon baby, but an actual infant who can't talk, can't walk, and barely understands the world. That alone already sounds like a bad idea on paper, but the twist is that Isaac starts developing telekinetic and psychic abilities. The game is told entirely from his point of view, so everything feels low to the ground, oversized, confusing, and intimate in a way something most games never even try. The game uses camera and face tracking if you want. Your eyes, your head movements, even your expressions can control things. You look at objects to move them. You focus your gaze to activate powers. Sometimes just looking at something for too long changes what happens. And the important part is that this isn't just a gimmick slapped on top. It actually fits the idea of being a baby, where your main way of interacting with the world is attention, not action. You're not pressing buttons to swing swords. You're paying attention, you're observing, you're reacting, and that changes how the pacing feels.
They will take care of you.
What the hell?
And then, when you're ready, they will get you home.
Eriksholm, the Stolen Dream. You play mostly in an isometric view. The story starts super personal and grounded. You're introduced to Hana, a young orphan in the city of Eriksholm whose brother Herman disappears after things go sideways with something he did. The city's already in decline because of a plague called heartpox, and that backdrop gives the whole narrative this industrial era fear mixed with desperation feel.
You and your brother. You said you're done with this, it's too dangerous, not what you wanted.
That's actually why I'm here.
Gameplay is rooted in stealth and strategy. You're constantly moving through levels where guards patrol, paths wind. Lake is the kind of game that lets you just slow down and breathe. It's set in 1986, and you play as Meredith Weiss, who takes a break from her busy city life to return to her quiet hometown, Providence Oaks. For 2 weeks, she steps in as the local mail carrier, driving around town, delivering letters, and reconnecting with the people she left behind. As you drive through the scenic roads and chat with the locals, you'll get to know their stories. Some are lighthearted, others are a bit more bittersweet, but every interaction feels meaningful. There's no rush in Lake. Delivering mail is about more than just getting from point A to point B. It's about the quiet moments, the calm scenery, and the chance to reflect. Blacktail. Blacktail offers a unique blend of folk-inspired storytelling, archery-based combat, and moral choices. The world of Blacktail is beautiful and eerie, filled with creatures inspired by Slavic mythology. The forest feels alive, with strange beings lurking around every corner, some friendly, others dangerous. Exploration is key, and the open environment encourages you to wander off the path to uncover secrets, solve environmental puzzles, and gather resources. Combat focuses on archery with tight, responsive mechanics that keep fights challenging but fair. You'll need to craft arrows, manage stamina, and strategically use potions and abilities to survive. There's a balance between combat and exploration, with plenty of downtime to take in the game's atmosphere, talk to curious characters, or collect materials to upgrade your equipment.
You killed again.
Kentucky Route Zero. You follow Conway, a truck driver making one final delivery along the mysterious Route Zero, a highway that doesn't appear on any map. Along the way, you encounter strange places and even stranger people, all wrapped in themes of loss, debt, community, and the search for meaning. The game is presented like an interactive play, with minimalist visuals that give everything a dreamlike, almost otherworldly vibe. Conversations feel poetic, with dialogue choices that shape the tone of your journey more than the plot itself. From a bar nestled underground to an office that stretches across a river, every location is soaked in mystery and metaphor. This isn't a game with easy answers or clear endings, it's a narrative experience where the journey is what matters.